I'm here with the fabulous Emma White, and we're super excited to get to know a little bit more about her and her record label and her music. Why don't you start off, Emma, by telling us your background and what got you started in the first place?
So I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I just kind of grew up surrounded by music. My family was very musical, and it just I was kind of talking about this with somebody recently. There was no real choice. I just kind of knew like this was what I was going to do. I saw the Dixie Chicks one time at a super young age, and that was the moment where I was like, Natalie Maines. Like I felt like a real connection to her, and so that was another thing that made me want to pursue it too. But yeah, so I went to music school, and then after I graduated, I moved to Nashville. I moved to New York and moved around a bit, but then I eventually moved to Nashville, and that was kind of like the beginning of a new chapter of it. So.
Yeah. Can you tell us why you chose country music over other genres?
There was a long time where I thought I was an R&B singer. Like
Oh,
truly, I wanted to be like the female Justin Timberlake. I always used to say like that was my thing. I was like, I want to make a record like his records, and I was really into Michael Jackson, and I still have those influences, obviously. But as I got older, I realized that the stories that I connected with and the ones that felt authentic to me that was country songwriting, and that like opened this whole new world and like somewhat of a challenge too, because it's writing in country is a different way of writing,
yeah.
but I just found it like suited who I was more than any other genre.
Great. Can you tell me what inspires your songwriting?
um it's really, usually I'm like autobiographical, so like anything in life that's going on, like a lot of a lot of my favorite songs usually come out of an emotion that's really intense in the moment. Like the ones that become my favorites, it's like it's almost like this intense emotional thing that I have to like get out, and then sometimes it'll be like a title. Just the other day I was doing a co-write over Zoom, and we kind of it was all girls, and we were having girl talk, like catching up on who's dating who and what's he
Yes.
like, blah blah blah.
Gossip.
Yeah, and I kept saying, I'm like, this is so boring. I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but my co-writer was like kind of fishing for ideas, which I didn't realize. And from that, she like thought of this really cool title, and we just went for that, and it's now like my favorite song at the moment. So yeah, I guess a lot of different things inspire it.
Great. Can you tell us about the story behind your latest single, Can I Call You Then?
Yeah, so Can I Call You Then, I wrote about 2 years ago with Andy Skibb and Emily Earl, and we were just kind of talking about I'm usually talking about somebody I'm dating, which I'm like, I feel like my life is more interesting than that, but sometimes it just is easy to write songs about that stuff. So um, I was seeing someone at the time who a theme in all the people I've dated is like they don't want to commit, and I'm like actively I'm like looking for my husband, like I'm really intense,
Yes.
um, or I'm just like not and I haven't had a lot of like exclusive relationships, so that like quest for me to find that partner is like a very common theme. And this guy wouldn't commit, and he was very wrapped up in his ex, and so that song was kind of like, I'll call you then, like when you've really moved on. That was kind of the whole thought process behind that one.
Great. You talked a little bit about working with women earlier, but you're a huge supporter of them, and you have a live stream series going on, the Women We Love series. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so that was actually my sister's idea. Like obviously I would love to be able to add another artist to my label at some point. But until I kind of feel confident in doing that, I want to just find opportunities to support anyway. So, and just like bring women together. So the Women We Love live stream has just become this really fun weekly series on my Instagram. And then I go live and then I post it to IGTV. And I'm meeting these women for the first time and having this like one-on-one conversation, and I'm hearing them sing for the first time and getting to know their music. And it's just been this really cool, like uplifting bonding thing during a really weird time. And I have loved it. It's been awesome. And like sometimes like no one's watching, and then sometimes, you know, a lot of people are watching. But what's nice about Instagram is you can view it later, and it'll be fun to look back at this time and like see all those videos. So it's been good. I think we might like wrap it up for a minute and then like put a spin on it and do it again as something else. So
Great. Well, they're super fun and inspiring to watch. So,
thank you. It's so cool you know about it.
of course, we follow it all. Can you tell us a little bit more about your record company and why you started it and the story behind it?
Yeah, so I started Whitehouse Records. I had always had it as a dream, and I kept like an Instagram account, and I would post my own music on it, and I never officially had made it a company. I had Whitehouse touring, but obviously my last name is White, and music is kind of very much in my family, and so it just was a name I always wanted. And I always wanted, I really looked up to like a lot of people in hip hop and R&B actually, because they kind of were captains of their own ship. And like one of my favorite artists is Jay-Z, and Jay-Z couldn't get a deal, and then he started his label, and I just for some reason grew up loving hip hop and R&B, and I just like had this dream long term. I never thought that I'd be in this situation now. But it was really out of necessity because I couldn't find a publishing deal to even get started at, the publishing deal is kind of like the gateway. And a lot of the conversations I was having weren't based on my music or the quality of my writing. It was really like, we're not looking for female songs, and you're a female writer. And they would even say that the songs were great, but really blatant, in my mind, discrimination. And I think people can make excuses for what it is and what it's not. But I'm like, if you're not employed by someone and they use your gender as the reason, like there's no confusion. Like that's discrimination.
100%. Written
So
in laws.
yeah. But it's interesting because I don't know if in entertainment it's like protected that way as it would be in like another field.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm like working on that, like trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it was like conversation, like years went by of this, and it was like I just the writing was on the wall, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep having the conversation until like I die. So I'm gonna have to do something else. So yeah, that's where it came from.
Great. Can you tell me about performing? I know there's not a ton going on right now, but your favorite parts about performing and any venues that you really enjoy?
I think like right now I'm loving doing the live streams. Like
Yeah.
I live alone, and I'm very nervous about like going into group settings, and like so doing the virtual stuff is really fun for me because I'm alone so much, and I've met people that I would never have met if we hadn't been in this situation. And it's been fun to like read people's comments as I perform, which you don't get to do in a real show. But I guess my favorite part of performing a normal show is just like a feeling. It's like this feeling that when it's a great show, you can't replace that interaction with new fans or new listeners. And like, it's just, I guess it's a rush, but it just feels like, oh, this is why I do this, because it's so much work. Like, and I have a ton of anxiety before I do any live show, and I don't know what it is. I kind of like have this weird emotional like breakdown sort of like before shows. But then I get to the show and it's like, oh, this is it. Like it's just this amazing like connection and I love it. Like I can't wait to get back to that. So
Yay. Well, hopefully soon, but who knows with all of this.
you know.
Can you tell us about your future plans? Any new music coming our way?
I have been writing a lot and I definitely, so my goal is to release like a typical, not typical, like a proper debut album.
Yeah.
So I haven't released an album and I just really want to work toward that and find the right people to get involved in it. And so I'm just kind of demoing a lot of songs and seeing, you know, what's right for them and what the whole sound is going to be. So that's like definitely a process, but there will absolutely be new music. I don't know when, but it's
Yes.
being worked on.
Great. Well, now's the perfect time to be writing and finding your sound. So that's super great.
Yeah.
Well, it was so wonderful to get to talk to you. Can you tell our listeners where we can find your music and your socials to stay in touch?
Yeah, so everything for me is usually at Emma White Music. Facebook, I'm probably on Instagram the most. And then my website is just emmawhitemusic.com.